The morning sun cast strange purple shadows across the crop fields of Kepler 186f. Tom kicked a small rock down the dirt path between the growing towers, his hands stuffed deep in his pockets. The 8-year-old boy had finished his morning chores early and now had the whole day to explore before his parents needed him back at the house. Behind him, padding silently on large paws, Whiskers followed at a lazy pace. The orange tabby cat was massive by Earth standards, weighing nearly 15 pounds of solid muscle hidden beneath fluffy fur. His green eyes constantly scanned the alien landscape, but his expression remained relaxed and content. The cat had made the journey from Earth 3 years ago when the colony ship arrived, one of only 12 animals the Galactic Council had permitted the human settlers to bring. Tom stopped at the edge of the agricultural zone, where the energy barriers hummed softly in the air. The barriers kept out the larger native creatures but allowed smaller wildlife to pass through. The boy peered through the shimmering field at the purple grasslands beyond, watching strange bird-like creatures hop between the twisted trees. "What do you think is out there, Whiskers?" Tom asked, crouching down to scratch behind the cat's ears. Whiskers purred loudly and rubbed against the boy's leg, then settled down in the warm dirt for a nap. The colony had been peaceful since the day they arrived. The Galactic Council had assigned this world to humans because they considered it perfect for a soft species, like humanity. The planet had mild weather, fertile soil, and no dangerous predators. The Council viewed humans as natural farmers and laborers, completely unsuited for anything involving conflict or danger. Tom's father, David, worked in the main agriculture center, managing the growing systems that produced food for the colony's 800 residents. His mother, Anna, taught at the small school, helping the colony's children learn about their new world while keeping up with Earth history and culture. The boy walked along the barrier's edge, following a small stream that flowed from the mountains in the distance. Whiskers opened one eye to check on him, then closed it again, completely at ease. The cat had quickly adapted to life on the new world, spending his days hunting small, rodent-like creatures and napping in sunny spots. Other colonists passed by, on the path, heading to their work assignments. They waved at Tom and smiled at Whiskers, who had become something of a colony mascot. The children especially loved the big cat, who tolerated their attention with patient dignity. "Morning, Tom," called out Roy, the colony's security chief. He was a tall man with gray hair who had served in Earth's small defense force before joining the colonial mission. "Staying close to home today?" "Yes, sir," Tom replied, "just exploring a bit." Roy nodded approvingly. The colony was safe, but parents still preferred their children to stay within the protected areas. The man continued on his patrol, checking the various systems that kept the settlement running smoothly. Tom found a comfortable spot near the stream, where he could watch the alien fish swimming in the clear water. They looked almost like Earth fish, but had extra fins that sparkled in the purple sunlight. Whiskers stretched out beside him, purring contentedly as the boy's hand moved through his thick fur. The peace of the moment was complete. Birds chirped in the strange trees, water babbled over smooth stones, and the energy barriers hummed their protective song. Tom pulled out a small device his father had given him, a simple scanner that could identify different plants and animals. He pointed it at various creatures, learning their names and basic information. Neither Tom nor Whiskers noticed the small scout ship that had been watching the colony from orbit for the past 2 days. The ship was cloaked, invisible to human sensors, and belonged to a young Razak warrior named Grath. Grath had been studying the human settlement through powerful scanners, mapping their daily routines and identifying potential targets. According to Galactic Council records, humans were a peaceful species with no natural weapons or fighting ability. They were described as soft-skinned herbivores who posed no threat to anyone. The young Razak was preparing for his coming-of-age trial, a traditional hunt that would prove his worthiness as a warrior. Capturing a human child would be perfect proof of his skills, especially since his species looked down on humans as weak and pathetic. From his hidden position in orbit, Grath watched Tom playing by the stream. The human child appeared completely defenseless, just as the reports had indicated. The large furry creature beside the boy seemed equally harmless, probably some kind of livestock or pet. Grath began his descent, keeping his ship cloaked as he approached the colony. He had studied human behavior patterns and knew this was the perfect time to strike. Most adults were at work, leaving only a few guards and the occasional parent to watch over the children. The Razak warrior was 7 feet tall with scales that could change color to match his surroundings. His claws were razor sharp, and his strength was 10 times that of a human. This would be an easy hunt, over before anyone even realized what had happened. Tom continued playing with his scanner, completely unaware of the approaching danger. He had found an interesting plant with blue flowers and was reading about its properties when Whiskers suddenly lifted his head. The cat's ears swiveled forward, focusing on something Tom couldn't see or hear. Whiskers rose to his feet and stepped, protectively in front of the boy, his tail beginning to twitch in an agitated manner. "What is it, boy?" Tom asked, looking around but seeing nothing unusual. The purple grasslands appeared empty, the twisted trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the stream continued its peaceful flow. Whiskers' pupils dilated as ancient instincts began to stir. Something was wrong. Something dangerous was approaching. The cat's nose twitched as he caught an unfamiliar scent carried on the alien wind. Deep in his DNA, millions of years of evolution as an apex predator began to awaken. The comfortable house cat started to remember that his ancestors had once been feared hunters, creatures that could bring down prey much larger than themselves. Tom noticed his pet's strange behavior and stood up, suddenly feeling nervous. Whiskers had never acted this way before. The cat was usually calm and relaxed, but now he looked tense and ready to fight. In the distance, Grath's cloaked ship touched down silently in a grove of trees. The hunt was about to begin. Grath stepped out of his scout ship and immediately activated his natural camouflage. His scales shifted from their normal dark green to match the purple and brown colors of the alien forest around him. The young Razak warrior moved through the trees like a ghost, his clawed feet making no sound on the soft ground. He had been planning this hunt for weeks, studying every detail of human behavior from orbit. The Galactic Council's files described humans as weak creatures who relied entirely on technology for protection. They had no natural weapons, no fighting instincts, and no ability to defend themselves against real predators. The Razak moved closer, to the stream where he had observed the human child playing. Through his advanced optical implants, he could see the small figure sitting by the water, with the large furry animal beside him. Both targets appeared completely unaware of his presence. Grath's species had been apex predators on their homeworld for millions of years. They hunted for sport as much as for food, and taking down dangerous prey was how young warriors proved their worth to the clan. However, the galaxy had become civilized, and finding worthy opponents had become difficult. Humans seemed like the perfect solution. They were numerous, widespread across many worlds, and according to all official records, completely defenseless. A successful hunt would prove Grath's skills while providing an easy victory that wouldn't result in diplomatic complications. The warrior crept through the tall purple grass, moving in a wide circle to approach from the child's blind spot. His reptilian eyes tracked every movement, calculating the perfect moment to strike. The plan was simple: grab the human child, return to his ship, and transport the captive back to Razak space as proof of his hunting prowess. Whiskers suddenly stood up, his orange fur beginning to bristle. The cat turned his head in Grath's direction, green eyes focusing on something Tom couldn't see. A low growl rumbled deep in the cat's throat, a sound the boy had never heard before. Tom looked where Whiskers was staring, but saw only empty grassland and twisted trees. The energy barriers continued their soft humming, the stream babbled peacefully, and nothing seemed out of place. Yet his pet was clearly agitated about something. The cat's nose twitched as he caught the alien scent again. It was wrong, dangerous, predatory. Every instinct inherited from millions of years of evolution was screaming warnings. Whiskers had never encountered anything like this smell before, but his genetic memory recognized the signature of a hunting predator. Grath was impressed by the furry creature's alertness. Perhaps humans used these animals as early warning systems. No matter. The beast was small and appeared to have no natural weapons. It might bark or make noise, but it posed no real threat to a Razak warrior. The alien predator continued his approach, moving from tree to tree with practiced stealth. His camouflage was nearly perfect, making him almost invisible against the alien landscape. Only his eyes moved as he tracked his prey, calculating distance and planning his attack route. Whiskers stepped directly between Tom and the approaching threat, his body language completely transformed. The lazy house cat was gone, replaced by something primal and dangerous. His tail lashed back and forth while his ears flattened against his head. Every muscle in his powerful body tensed for action. Tom finally realized something was seriously wrong. He had never seen Whiskers act this way, and the cat's obvious fear was making him nervous. The boy stood up and took a step backward toward the colony, trusting his pet's superior senses. Grath saw the movement and decided to act before his prey could escape. The Razak warrior burst from concealment, his natural camouflage flickering off as he sprinted toward the human child. His powerful legs carried him across the ground at incredible speed, claws extended and ready to grab his target. For a split second, Tom was frozen in terror. The creature charging at him was like nothing he had ever seen or imagined. 7 feet of scaled muscle and razor claws, moving faster than any human could run. The boy's mind couldn't process what was happening, but Whiskers was already in motion. The cat launched himself directly at the alien predator with a blood-curdling yowl that echoed across the grasslands. 15 pounds of earth feline fury collided with 200 pounds of Razak warrior in the explosion of claws and scales. Grath stumbled backward in shock as razor-sharp claws raked across his face, narrowly missing his eyes. The small creature had actually hurt him, drawing purple blood from scratches on his scaled hide. No animal this size should have been able to penetrate Razak armor skin. Whiskers landed gracefully and immediately attacked again, using hit-and-run tactics that his ancestors had perfected over millions of years. The cat darted in to strike at vulnerable spots, then leaped away before the larger predator could retaliate. His claws found gaps between scales, tender areas around joints, and sensitive nerve clusters. The Razak warrior tried to grab the furry attacker, but the earth cat was impossibly fast and agile. Whiskers seemed to anticipate every move, staying just out of reach while continuing his relentless assault. Each strike was precise and calculated, targeting areas that would cause maximum damage and disorientation. Tom snapped out of his shock and started running toward the colony, shouting for help at the top of his lungs. His voice carried across the settlement, alerting everyone that something was wrong. Behind him, he could hear the sounds of an incredible battle as his pet fought the alien monster. Grath roared in frustration and pain as the small predator continued to tear at him. This was supposed to be an easy hunt, but instead he was being systematically destroyed by a creature that weighed less than his smallest claw. The furry beast fought with a ferocity and intelligence that defied everything he knew about prey, animals. Whiskers targeted the alien's optical implants next, his claws sparking against the electronic devices. The cat seemed to understand that these were important to his opponent and focused his attacks accordingly. Years of hunting mice and birds had taught him to identify weak points and exploit them ruthlessly. The Razak warrior tried to retreat, but the earth predator followed, harassing him with every step. Whiskers used the terrain to his advantage, leaping from rocks and fallen logs to attack from unexpected angles. The cat's tactical thinking was evident as he herded the alien away from Tom and toward the colony's defensive systems. Colony alarms began blaring as security sensors detected the disturbance. The sound triggered emergency protocols, alerting every adult in the settlement that something was wrong. Within seconds, dozens of humans were running toward the commotion, ready to defend their home and children. Grath realized his hunt had become a disaster. Instead of capturing easy prey, he was bleeding from dozens of wounds and struggling to escape from the most vicious opponent he had ever faced. The small earth creature had shattered every assumption he had made about this supposedly weak species. The first human defenders appeared in the distance. Whiskers continued his attack with undiminished fury. The cat had awakened something ancient and terrible, transforming from a gentle pet into an apex predator defending his territory and pack. David heard his son's screams from inside the agriculture center and immediately dropped everything. The terror in Tom's voice triggered every parental instinct he possessed. He burst through the doors and sprinted toward the sound, his heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. Other colonists were also running toward the commotion. Roy grabbed his emergency equipment and followed the crowd, his security training taking over. Anna ran from the school building, her face pale with worry as she recognized her son's voice among the chaos. What they found at the stream defied all logic and reason. Whiskers was engaged in mortal combat with a creature that looked like something from their worst nightmares. The 7-foot alien warrior was covered in purple blood from dozens of wounds, while the orange tabby cat moved like liquid lightning around his much larger opponent. Grath swung his massive claws at the small predator, but Whiskers was never where the alien expected him to be. The cat seemed to read his opponent's intentions before they formed, dodging and weaving with supernatural grace. Each counterattack was precise and devastating, targeting nerve clusters and joint connections with surgical accuracy. The Razak warrior had fought many dangerous creatures in his lifetime, but nothing had prepared him for this. The furry beast fought without fear, using tactics that spoke of millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Every move was calculated to cause maximum damage while minimizing risk to himself. Whiskers leaped onto Grath's back and raked his claws down the alien's spine, finding gaps between the armored scales. The cat's rear legs kicked at sensitive areas while his front claws held on with incredible strength. The Razak spun and thrashed, trying to dislodge his attacker, but the Earth predator held on like his life depended on it. Tom reached his parents and threw himself into their arms, sobbing with relief and terror. David held his son tightly while staring at the impossible battle taking place before them. Their gentle house cat had transformed into something primal and deadly, holding his own against an alien monster. Roy raised his weapon but couldn't get a clear shot. Whiskers was moving too fast, and the risk of hitting the cat was too great. The security chief watched in amazement as their pet systematically dismantled a creature that could have torn apart the entire colony. Grath tried a new strategy, grabbing for Whiskers with both hands while ignoring the pain from his wounds. But the cat anticipated this move and dropped to the ground, then immediately launched himself at the alien's throat. Razor-sharp claws found the soft tissue between armored plates, and purple blood began flowing freely. The Razak warrior roared, in pain and panic, finally understanding that he was fighting for his life. This was no longer a hunt. It had become a battle for survival. The small Earth creature was actually capable of killing him if the fight continued much longer. Anna watched her pet with a mixture of pride and horror. She had always known Whiskers was special, but seeing him fight like this revealed depth she never suspected. The cat was using intelligence and tactics that rivaled trained human soldiers, adapting his strategy based on his opponent's weaknesses. Other colonists arrived and formed a defensive perimeter around the battle. They had weapons and technology, but none of them wanted to interfere with Whiskers' incredible performance. The cat was winning against impossible odds, proving that their supposedly defenseless species had hidden strengths. Grath's optical implants sparked and failed as claws found sensitive electronics. Half-blind and disoriented, the alien warrior stumbled backward toward his ship. His hunting pride was completely shattered, replaced by desperate fear of the striped demon that had turned his easy prey into a nightmare. Whiskers pressed his advantage, following the retreating alien while continuing his relentless attacks. The cat seemed to understand that this creature was dangerous to his human family, and he was determined to eliminate the threat completely. There was no mercy in those green eyes, only the cold calculation of a natural killer. The Razak tried to activate his personal shields, but his equipment had been damaged in the fight. Sparks flew from his armor as claw marks crossed critical components. Everything he had relied on for protection was failing, leaving him vulnerable to continued assault. Roy finally got close enough to take action, but what he saw made him hesitate. Whiskers was herding the alien away from the colony with tactical precision, driving him toward the defensive barriers where human weapons could be brought to bear. The cat was working with them, not just fighting blindly. David pulled out his scanner and began recording everything. This footage would be invaluable evidence of what had really happened here. The sight of their pet defeating a galactic predator would change how the entire universe viewed humanity and their animal companions. Grath reached his ship, but found his navigation systems damaged by the earlier attack on his implants. The small predator had somehow known exactly where to strike, to cause maximum disruption. He fumbled with manual controls while Whiskers circled the landing area, preventing any chance of escape. The cat's tactical thinking was evident as he positioned himself between the alien and the ship's entrance. Every time Grath tried to board, claws would rake across his legs and arms, forcing him back. The Earth predator was systematically cutting off all escape routes. Anna called out to her pet, trying to get him to back away now that help had arrived. But Whiskers was beyond human commands, operating on instincts millions of years old. The cat knew this creature was dangerous to his pack, and nothing would stop him from completing his mission. The colonists watched in awe as their gentle house cat continued to dominate an alien warrior. This creature had probably planned to capture Tom and possibly hurt other children, but instead he was learning what it meant to face Earth's natural predators. Grath finally managed to reach his ship's controls and began emergency launch procedures. The engines roared to life, but Whiskers made one final attack, leaping onto the hull and clawing at the sensor array. The cat rode the ship for several seconds before jumping clear, landing gracefully as the damaged vessel limped into the sky. As the alien ship disappeared beyond the purple clouds, Whiskers sat down and began grooming himself with casual dignity. The fierce predator was gone, replaced once again by their beloved pet. But everyone who witnessed the battle would never look at him the same way again. The implications of what they had seen were staggering. If a simple house cat could defeat a galactic predator, what did that say about humanity's true potential in the universe? The emergency medical team arrived to find no human casualties, only purple alien blood splattered across the grass and rocks near the stream. Tom was shaken but unharmed, while Whiskers showed no signs of injury despite having fought a creature 10 times his size. The cat sat calmly as Anna examined him, purring softly as if nothing unusual had happened. Roy immediately began documenting the scene, collecting blood samples and recording detailed measurements of the alien's footprints. The security chief had served in Earth's defense forces for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like what just occurred. A house cat had single-handedly defeated what appeared to be a trained alien warrior. David continued filming with his scanner, capturing every detail of the aftermath. The footage would be crucial evidence when they reported this incident to the Galactic Council. He focused on the claw marks gouged into the alien ship's hull, proof of Whiskers' incredible fighting ability. News of the battle spread quickly through the colony's communication network. Within an hour, every resident knew that their peaceful settlement had been attacked by an unknown alien species, and that Tom's pet cat had successfully defended them all. The story seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. Colony Administrator Wilson arrived with a team of analysts to investigate the incident. She was a stern woman who had dealt with many interspecies disputes during her career, but this situation was completely unprecedented. According to all official records, humans were supposed to be a passive species with no combat capabilities. The team examined the alien blood samples and found DNA markers indicating a Razak origin. This discovery was deeply troubling, as the Razak were known throughout the galaxy as fierce predators and skilled hunters. The fact that one of their warriors had been defeated by an Earth animal would have serious political implications. Whiskers allowed the scientists to examine him, remaining calm and cooperative throughout the process. They found no modifications or enhancements that could explain his fighting ability. He was simply a normal domestic cat, albeit a large and healthy specimen. The implications were staggering. Roy pulled Wilson aside to discuss the larger picture. If their pet cat could defeat a Razak warrior, what did that say about Earth's other animals? Dogs, horses, even smaller creatures like ferrets and birds might possess similar hidden capabilities. The galaxy had seriously underestimated the species that humans brought with them. Meanwhile, Tom stayed close to his parents while medical staff checked him for injuries. The 8-year-old was struggling to understand what he had witnessed. His gentle pet had transformed into something fierce and deadly, then returned to normal as if nothing had happened. The experience had shaken his entire worldview. Anna knelt beside her son and tried to explain what had occurred. Whiskers had protected him because cats were natural hunters on Earth, even when they lived as pets. The instincts were always there, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The colony's scientists began reviewing everything they knew about Earth's animal kingdom. Species that had seemed harmless now appeared in a completely different light. House cats were descended from apex predators who had ruled their environments for millions of years. Their reflexes, strength, and tactical intelligence were the products of evolutionary perfection. David uploaded his footage to the colony's central database and prepared a detailed report for transmission to Earth. The video clearly showed Whiskers defeating the alien attacker through superior speed, agility, and combat instincts. No special equipment or training had been involved, just natural ability. Wilson called an emergency colony meeting to discuss their response to the incident. The attack raised serious questions about their security and the true nature of humanity's place in galactic civilization. If the Galactic Council had been wrong about Earth's animals, what else might they have misunderstood? The colonists gathered in the main hall, many of them bringing their own pets. Dogs sat calmly beside their owners, unaware that they were now being viewed as potential warriors. A few families had birds, rabbits, and even a ferret, all creatures that suddenly seemed more formidable than before. Roy addressed the crowd first, explaining the technical details of what had happened. The Razak ship had been cloaked and armed, indicating this was a planned attack rather than a chance encounter. The alien warrior had specifically targeted Tom, suggesting that humans were being hunted for some unknown purpose. Wilson took the stage next and discussed the political implications. Earth's status in the Galactic Council was based on the assumption that humans were a peaceful, non-threatening species. The revelation that their animal companions possessed such capabilities could change everything. Several colonists spoke up about their own pets' behavior. Mrs. Peterson mentioned that her dog Rex had been acting strangely for the past few days, constantly alert and watching the perimeter. Mr. Thompson's hunting cat had brought him several alien creatures recently, species that were supposed to be too fast and dangerous for Earth animals to catch. The pattern was becoming clear. Earth's animals had been adapting to the alien environment faster and more successfully than anyone realized. Their natural predator instincts were not diminished by domestication, merely dormant until truly needed. Anna stood up to defend Whiskers against suggestions that he might be dangerous to humans. The cat had never shown any aggression toward people, only toward a genuine threat to his family. His protective instincts were precisely targeted, activated only when necessary to defend those he loved. Tom nodded in agreement, still staying close to his pet. Whiskers had saved his life by doing what came naturally to him. The cat was still the same gentle companion he had always been, just more capable than anyone had imagined. The meeting concluded with a decision to increase security measures while maintaining their normal daily routines. The colony's cats would be encouraged to patrol the perimeter, using their superior senses and reflexes to detect potential threats. Other pets would be observed more carefully to understand their hidden capabilities. As the colonists dispersed, many of them looked at their animal companions with new respect and curiosity. These creatures were not just pets, but partners who had evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. They carried within their genes the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of survivors and hunters. That night, David transmitted his report to Earth along with Roy's security analysis and Wilson's political assessment. The message would take months to reach home, but when it did, it would force humanity to reconsider their place in the galaxy. Whiskers settled into his favorite sleeping spot on Tom's bed, purring contentedly as the boy stroked his fur. Tomorrow, he would return to his usual routine of napping and playing, but the memory of today's battle would remain. The ancient predator that lived within every Earth animal had been awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the incident, Admiral Barnes sat in his office on Earth's orbital defense station, reviewing the most unusual report in human military history. The footage from Kepler 186f had been analyzed by every expert in the fleet, and the conclusions were always the same. A 15-pound house cat had defeated a Razak warrior in single combat. The implications were staggering. Earth's defense strategists were quietly reassessing every assumption about humanity's military potential. If their pets possessed such capabilities, What might humans themselves be capable of under the right circumstances? The Galactic Council had classified humanity as a passive species, but that evaluation was clearly incomplete. Meanwhile, in the Razak hunting grounds of the Vortara system, young Grath sat in shame before the Council of Elders. His wounds had healed, but his pride remained shattered. The warrior who had once boasted of his prowess now spoke in whispers about striped demons and tiny earth predators that fought without fear. Elder Thak examined the recorded testimony with growing concern. The human child's guardian had displayed tactical intelligence that rivaled trained Razak soldiers. The creature had identified weak points in their armor, disabled critical equipment, and executed a fighting retreat that prevented capture or retaliation. This was not the behavior of a simple prey animal. The Razak Hunting Council made an unprecedented decision. Humans and their animal companions were declared off-limits for all future hunts. The official reason was diplomatic sensitivity, but privately the elders admitted they were terrified of what other creatures Earth might have produced. Word spread through the underground networks that connected the galaxy's various warrior cultures. The story grew with each telling, describing Earth cats as striped death dealers who could appear from shadows and vanish like smoke. Trade ships began giving human colonies wider berths, unwilling to risk encountering these mysterious predators. On Kepler 186F, life had settled into a new routine. Whiskers had returned to his normal activities of napping and hunting small creatures, but he was no longer alone on patrol. The colony had acquired 19 additional cats from Earth, creating a feline security force that watched over the perimeter with constant vigilance. Tom had grown more confident in the month since the attack. Knowing that Whiskers would protect him had given the boy a sense of security that allowed him to explore more freely. He often accompanied the patrol cats on their rounds, learning to read their body language and understand their communication methods. The other cats had quickly adapted to their new roles as guardians. Luna, a sleek black female, specialized in night reconnaissance. Patch, a gray tabby with distinctive markings, had appointed himself as the colony's early warning system. Each cat had found their niche in the defensive network. Colony Administrator Wilson received regular updates from Earth about the changing political situation. The Galactic Council had begun asking pointed questions about human-animal companions, and several species had requested detailed information about Earth's wildlife. The tone of these inquiries suggested a growing respect mixed with caution. David continued his research into animal behavior, documenting the various ways their pets had adapted to the alien environment. The cats showed particular skill at hunting local creatures, while the colony's dogs had developed enhanced territorial instincts. Even the rabbits seemed more alert and responsive than their Earth counterparts. Anna incorporated these discoveries into her teaching curriculum, helping the colony's children understand that their pets were partners rather than simple companions. The lessons included basic animal psychology and the importance of respecting the instincts that had kept their species alive for millions of years. Roy upgraded the colony's security protocols to integrate the animal patrols with their electronic systems. The cats' superior senses provided early warning of approaching threats, while their mobility allowed rapid response to incidents across the settlement. The combination proved remarkably effective. In the wider galaxy, the footage from Kepler 186F had reached intelligence agencies of every major power. Military analysts studied Whisker's fighting techniques, trying to understand how such a small creature could defeat a much larger opponent. The cat's use of speed, precision, and tactical thinking became textbook examples of asymmetric warfare. The Galactic Council quietly began revising their assessments of human colonies. While still classified as a peaceful species, humanity was now marked with warnings about their animal companions. Several council members privately wondered what other surprises Earth might be hiding. Trade relationships began shifting as alien merchants realized the commercial value of having humans as partners rather than vassals. Species that had previously ignored humanity started offering better deals and showing more respect. The knowledge that even human pets could be dangerous encouraged diplomatic rather than confrontational approaches. Tom celebrated his 9th birthday surrounded by the colony's growing cat population. Whiskers, now recognized as the alpha male of the group, supervised the celebration with dignified approval. The boy had learned to appreciate both sides of his pet's nature, the gentle companion who purred on his lap, and the fierce guardian who would die defending his family. The colony received word that Earth was secretly developing new military doctrines based on their discoveries. Human soldiers would be paired with specially trained animals, creating teams that combined human intelligence with animal instincts. The program was called Project Guardian, inspired by Whisker's heroic defense of Tom. Admiral Barnes approved the establishment of additional colonies on worlds previously considered too dangerous for human settlement. With proper animal companions for protection, humanity could expand into regions where other species feared to venture. Earth's cats, dogs, and other predators would serve as the vanguard of human expansion. As the purple sun set over Kepler 186f, Whiskers took his position on the perimeter for the night watch. The big orange tabby moved through his territory with quiet confidence, secure in the knowledge that he and his fellow guardians kept their human family safe. Behind him, the colony's lights twinkled in the growing darkness, a symbol of humanity's growing presence among the stars. The galaxy had underestimated Earth's children and their faithful companions, but that mistake would not be made again. In the distance, alien ships maintained respectful distances from the human settlement. Word had spread throughout the sector about the tiny striped warriors who defended these soft-skinned colonists. None were eager to test their luck against creatures that could turn a peaceful afternoon by a stream into a nightmare of claws and tactical fury. Whiskers settled into his favorite observation post, green eyes scanning the alien landscape for any sign of threat. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and adventures, but tonight, his family was safe. That was all that mattered to the small Earth predator who had changed the balance of power in the galaxy simply by being himself.